And then on the bottom, it says how, I asked a question, how do we change the agenda? So far, I mean, is this how we want it? So far, only the board chair and the superintendent. It's kind of confusing how Henry always starts the meeting, would anyone like to change the agenda? It doesn't make, any board member who wishes to add an item to the agenda may offer a motion to that effect. But in order to facilitate its business, the board chair may adjust the agenda by changing the order of business. So a member can add an item, but they can't switch things around. That's how it is currently.
Subtract, or switch things around, but it has to be
That's
agreed
how,
upon
I'm
with the
just
whole
saying,
board.
that's how we have it
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
I could add an item like I did tonight. I added the petition.
Mhm.
But I could not, like, remember the time you asked to switch something around, you asked to move something forward? Technically, that's not allowed. Is that how we want that?
Okay.
Yes,
Kevin wrote on that.
I mean, because we do that.
I hear what you're saying.
Where do you see where it can't be moved?
At the bottom here, the bottom of that, right there. I can't spend, again, I said, do we want to keep the school board committees as a section? I think if a committee has something important to say, like the negotiations committee or the communications committee, maybe they could just have an item on the agenda. Do we need to have a whole section for them?
Yes.
I think we should, because we don't always have, we have standing places for things, and I think, we still have a fair number of committees. I think it's likely there will always be some type of committee updating at a board meeting. It may not be 100% of the time, but I'd say it's 80% of the time. So I think it's worthwhile to keep it on the agenda.
Yes.
May I just suggest some wording here, and that's a good point. And these two are consistent. When it says that any board member who wishes to add, remove, or change an item. Okay, that's in the first thing. And then in addition, all changes, all additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda must be approved, just so that they're both consistent within those two paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you get that?
Yep.
Okay, does that make sense?
And to be honest, I think it might make sense to, if people do want to do that, we might want to have a sentence in there, it would, with the courtesy of, please show courtesy to the board chair and superintendent by maybe informing them of these changes in advance or something. I don't know, some wording to that effect.
If possible.
If possible, correct. We could do that.
Okay, any other changes?
Well, we also wanted to discuss, do we have two different kinds of meetings a month, a business and a workshop?
Are you making a proposal for that?
I like that idea.
It
I
is-
think we could take care of
Are
things
you
like,
making a proposal? Why don't you
It's just
propose
the
such
first
so we
read.
can-
She can't make a motion. I've already made a motion.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I'm
you
not
have, I'm
making
sorry,
a-
yeah, you're right, you're right.
I noted it.
Do
Yes,
you want to take care of that motion? Or?
So right now, we have, in our policy, we have certain types of meetings defined. This agenda is referring to what we call a regular board meeting. So if we are going to change the whole nomenclature of what we're calling meetings and what's a workshop, that I think is a separate thing right now. This is the agenda for regular meetings. So I think it would have to be a new charge to the board, to the policy committee, if we want to start renaming the meetings and the board gives us direction.
It's
on
actually
that.
a separate policy that would need to be amended.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So I think this is, to me, this is, we have different kinds of meetings, those are defined. This is a policy that specifies what a regular meeting looks like. So I think we don't have, that would be, I think, a separate discussion point.
agree with it?
I just thought I'd throw that out because it seemed like that might be one way we could be more efficient, but if that's not of interest to people, then.
it's not that it's not of interest. I think it would be a different discussion altogether. And if we have that
Yeah.
discussion, then yes, we'd have to come back to this and then redo this. Because this wouldn't be called a regular meeting anymore. There would be no more regular meetings.
Correct.
Okay, so,
Just very quickly, a lot of things have changed, and right now, with the kind of guidance we're getting from Lee, I'm looking at some very efficient meetings coming up, and perhaps we need to work on our parliamentary procedures and like. But I'd like to fly with this for a while, and before we make any bold, or let's see how it runs. This
Can
is
I-
the second meeting we've had like this. That's it.
Let's just see, I'm gonna read the amendments so that we
Okay.
understand what we're voting on.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna move up.
Oh, and the time, change the time if we're not having
Yeah.
When we approached this subject the first time, the time is not something that, you can have it on the policy as an example, but it's not dictated at all. Okay, so on the actual policy portion, the wording portion, for lack of better description, this part, under the first paragraph where it says, on the fourth line down where it says their request, will be changed to request. On the second paragraph where it says 2 days on the second line, will be changed to 72 hours. To match the other policy, which we're not talking about right now, so it's the only one we can change. On the 5th paragraph, which starts any board member, which you can't see because I have to move it down. Bear with me. My mouse skills with my left hand are apparently horrible. Whoa, and there it goes. Okay, so the one right at the top of the screen now. Any board member who wishes to add, remove, or change an item, that's the change. And then the last sentence, or last paragraph, in order to facilitate its business, the board chair may adjust, what did you have? Yeah, okay, so there's what it is. All additions on the second paragraph, second to last paragraph, all additions and deletions to the agenda must be approved by a majority vote of board members in present voting. And then Ann also suggested to add a sentence that said something about informing changes to the superintendent and chair in advance if possible. On the second page, the amendment is to, I stopped that, good job. Whether to strike the school board committees, I just put a question mark by it, so we'll have the policy committee look at it. And that's it.
so the adding of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yeah, and then the ones that are already in blue, plus the nominations, which we already
Okay.
discussed.
Oh, the time needs to be changed. If
The
we want, do we?
time, I just said that, the time, we asked the attorney when we wrote this policy originally, the time is there as like a placeholder.
Okay.
You can make it say whatever you need to say for the time.
Okay, fine. Anything else?
I could
So,
just, you know what, I'll change time, like it is on date. It says date 2010, I'll say time instead, okay? That make everybody else feel better. Date, time. We'll take out 2010 just because, what the heck?
okay, are there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of those changes that were just mentioned and delineated out, please raise your hand.
Why don't you read the motion?
Oh, excuse me, thank you. If you could read it again.
The motion is to approve the first read of policy BEDB as amended.
Okay. All those in favor of the changes as mentioned? All those opposed? 3 to 1.
four.
No, Jim's out of the room.
So-
2, 3,
Oh, excuse me, I'm
Four.
sorry, 4, I'm sorry.
4, 1, and
With
1.
Jim noted as he's out of the room. Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the first read of policies IGA, JJA, and JJF.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on those two policies, right?
3,
You mentioned the 3, I'm sorry.
IGA, JJA, and JJF.
Okay, yes.
JJR is also going to be available for first read, but it needed a little bit more of a once-over by Sue, so we took it off the plate for today.
Okay.
You'll see it next time.
Any discussion, Ann?
On JJA and JJF, I'm wondering why we are taking out activities and putting in the word clubs. it makes more sense with the word activities to me. If we say
I
student
actually believe
activities
it's
and
supposed to say
organizations.
activities and clubs, but hold on one second, let me pull out my notes from the meeting.
Because all throughout the policy, it refers to activities, student activities fund, student activities, and, a club, there's
Yeah,
like the
it's
drama
not- The
club.
activities wasn't supposed to be struck, the clubs was supposed to be added. So I can change that. It's supposed to say student activities,
it's supposed
clubs,
to be
and
both.
organizations,
It's
right?
supposed to be all of them, because
Yeah.
because clubs is
We
also
added the
cited
clubs,
in
yeah.
it.
Oh,
And-
okay,
Like,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
all,
inadvertently
that
struck
verbiage
the
is,
activities.
those words are
Yeah.
used throughout the document.
So activities is never crossed out?
No,
No,
it
it
shouldn't
shouldn't
have
be
been.
crossed out, thank
Okay,
you.
that's fine. I have no problem with any of them.
Okay,
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the first read being accepted, raise your hand. 2 of 5. Okay,
and I'd like to make a motion to approve the first read of policy IGD as amended.
Which one? Second.
This policy is new. Danielle was with us when we reviewed it, and this was the only change we made. We have a much larger policy on curriculum that this one kind of associated with. And that's IGA, which is cross-referenced.
no,
It's on the back of
right,
JJF.
Yeah, okay, I remember that
we
one.
found it, okay.
That was my suggestion, change that one.
Are we doing this now?
Mhm. Yes, we are doing this now.
We need a second on the motion?
Jocelyn?
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes, Ann?
Oh, it says new programs of study shall not be acted upon by the board until the meeting. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. There's a policy of the board that no basic program of study shall be eliminated or new courses added without approval of the board. So the school can't add new courses without
No.
approval of the board?
Nope, we had this exact same discussion at the policy committee. From what we understand, it's programs of study, like English, math.
I know what a program of study.
Like, we can't add, this policy was more created for school districts, not like ours, that will say, all right, we need $50,000 out of the budget, we're getting rid of art. And so this policy is trying to prevent that from happening without approval from the board. So they couldn't add
The foreign-
Chinese.
Yeah.
That's probably a really bad example, but
Well,
whatever,
should it
I'm gonna say
new
it.
courses
They
of
couldn't
study?
add Chinese, because we don't have Chinese in our school without approval of the board. Something different, something that we don't have, I can't think of anything
Courses
else.
of
Well, I
study
think
then?
what we're talking about is, okay, so no,
Latin.
no,
Let's use
the
that.
policy
No,
was
Latin.
confusing because of the word course, because that
Right.
makes you think one basic, very specific course. But this is saying that, okay, the board, you can't say there was, they're under massive budget constraints and they want to eliminate, art, in the middle school, or I don't know, something like that, You can't just do that. You have to get board approval. Now, if you want to add something, like now we're talking about adding foreign languages into elementary school, this whole thing, like what Mr. Harrington came today and presented, and that whole process has to be followed.
And Danielle said that is protocol for their current way of doing things. They don't add or take away any large group of substance of course study without coming to the board and saying, we're eliminating English. Anybody got a problem with that?
But
How would it apply to the AP classes that we eliminated?
Nope, that does not apply.
Because that's a course.
That's a
No,
course.
it's not a course of study.
It's a-
I mean, well,
it's
they
a
couldn't
course.
say,
It's
we're
a
getting rid
class.
of all advanced placement classes, I
Right.
guess. That might be considered a course of study. But a particular class, like AP US History, that's not covered in this policy.
Mr. Brackett?
They
Yes.
have the ability to adjust their curriculum and schedule and courses however they see fit. But this is, we need English to graduate, you gotta have English. You can't come to us and say, you can't just get rid of English because you don't want to teach it anymore.
Jim, and then